A warm welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. So this will be, don't forget to subscribe. This will be episode 3 of the carbon fibre roof, carbon fibre installation. So episode 1, strip out. Episode 2, I can't remember what we were doing. I think I was trying to get the glass out in episode 2. Episode 3, the glass fitters just come to help me get the glass out because I couldn't get the glass out. I was able to cut all around this top edge here with the wire, and then I couldn't get through here. I just couldn't do it, and I thought you needed a special tool, and I bought this tool, but it's no good. You do use the wire, but you need to know what you're doing. The chap, I caught that when I was trying, because I'd come round here and then I realised I'd destroy this if I tried it. But the chap wedged plastic in here, and like it's all about the right length and the angles, and he just knew where to go and how to do it, and he just knows what he's doing. And it was a bit of a pain to get out, but he did it pretty rapidly and pretty it looked really good, but it's not easy taking these windscreens out, and this wasn't easy either because the cage was in the way. Again, I would have tried to cut it with the knife, and he said, if you try with the knife, you push up on the glass and you can smash it. You know, as you try and cut into the seal, you'll bulge the glass as the seal separates from the blade of the knife. So he went through very carefully with the wire and kind of cut this bit first, and then wrapped all the way around, and then kind of did it. And yeah, it was really impressive actually to see. So we're all stripped out on the inside. If you've not been following all of this, so we're all stripped out there. So my next job is to go and drill out all the spot welds, and I'd already just done some test holes on these. Now, some of these, you can see that one there, I've just drilled a little bit too deep to the point where you're coming right out the bottom. But it just isn't the end of the world, because it just isn't. You can see the thinness of the metal. So we have like a plate on the roof that kinks over and then has a little flap there, and then that is spot welded, that flap, to an existing ledge that's on the catwalk here. After we've drilled all of these out, we then need to get a seam separation tool, and I've been trying to use, don't laugh, I've been trying to use that because it fits in perfectly, but you can't get enough whack on it to break the seal and break the spot weld. So I've ordered a heavier duty tool that I'm going to try and hit harder. It's going to bend a bit of metal, but that's all. Doing this is going to bend a little bit of metal in here, and I think once you finish, you just got to straighten it all up and then sand it all off, sand it all clean, although it won't be back. When the roof comes off, it'll be bare metalled, so sand it all back clean, but get it all straight, which sounds like it's going to be easy. And then etch primer it. Dan suggested painting it as well, so I've got a little bit of red paint. The problem is it's also spot welded along this edge. Can you just see there? You probably can't actually because we've still got a little bit of sealant there, but there's spot welds. I can feel them, so I need to locate the spot welds. Yeah, there's like one right where my finger is there, and drill those out. So I might need to just scrape some more sealant off, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Because the roof, as well as ledging there and being spot welded on, ledges down there and is bonded onto here. So you can probably see under here. I don't know if you've got good light. No, haven't got good light, but there'll be spot welds in here, like in there where my thumb is. Yeah. And then we've got to break. Once we've done all the spot welds and we break the spot weld seals, we've got to break all this seal here. Dan reckons you've got to heat it all up. I don't know. But we'll break it. We'll get it. We'll break it. We'll definitely break it. We'll get this roof off. And we're good. While I've got the glass off and I've got access. I've got good access to pull up on that cage actually. I might try and get that cage out. Dan reckons that's still twanging. I'm not so sure. Oh, yeah, you're going to hit that little twang. He's right. It's on this side, so like almost like there's a little bit of metal or something in that weld. Yeah, you can hear it. Something resonates. So I don't know if I have fixed that thing, and it would be good to figure that out before that glass goes back in, because it makes messing around with the cage easier, because you've got, yeah, you can still hear that vibration. Dan thinks maybe drill through the cage and fill it up with expanding foam, which sounds a bit a bit bodgy. In fact, maybe it's the only option. Yeah, it does it on this side as well. I don't know if that's just resonating or if there is really something in there. Don't know. I haven't got the bottom of that. Ow! I haven't got the bottom of that mounted in. So we'll get that out, and that will save us a couple of kilos. What's involved with that? What's going on there? That's is that? Oh, that might. I don't know what that is. I think that'll just be a wiring loom and then some bolts, and then that will come out. There's options with blanking plates. You can get like little 30p blanking plates that are just generic rubber blanking plates, but you can paint them like Dan's done. But again, that's a bit. The other option, someone said there's like no infamous Greek chap on eBay who sells these painted, but I can't find him. I think he's retired or something. I don't know. I can't find the Greek that sells the colour matched caps for this mod. If you know of him and know where I can get them from, the only other places in America that do colour matched ones, you know, all ready to go, aluminium drilled rather than the rubber bung, you know, but they're $140, and then you've got to ship them to the UK. It's a lot of money, but maybe just pay the money. Just pay the money, because having a little rubber bung that's painted red on there is not going to be good, is it? It's another, you know, it's just another cost. But nowadays, 140 quid is just do it properly. Option, I could leave that motor in there, but I very rarely use that wiper, and it saves some weight. Yeah, so probably take that out. So in terms of drilling spot welds, this is interesting, isn't it? So I've got a spot weld drill bit I just bought from eBay, and there were these cobalt spot weld drill bits, a 6mm and 8mm, and 6mm and 10mm or something. I don't know. No, 8mm, I think. I don't know. But anyway, it's this bigger size one you want to use, but it's got like a little head on it, like you know, like a little point, which is actually quite useful because it stops it sliding around, but you don't get a flat cut, which means you can go a bit deeper in the middle. I don't think it's a major problem actually, but it is quite difficult actually. I think now as I work my way around the car, I'm noticing it's getting harder to cut these spot welds out, and you just have to be a little bit more patient. So kind of like you've got to wait for it to bite. So it's kind of just starting to bite now. There we go. Once you start seeing all the metal come up, you know you're making good progress. Shouldn't be doing this with one hand. There we go. And when you've dunked a little bit, I don't think that's quite through yet. So you need to go a little bit deeper. I think that might be through. Yeah, it's hard to tell, but it's like a little ring. Yeah, I think that's probably through. Those are definitely through, those ones. So yeah, whenever there's a spot weld, you just got to drill, and then I have the little vacuum to hand down there and suck all that metal up, because you want to get that all off the car. Yeah. There is, I think, when you're doing this, so far so good. There's the reality that you might scratch something, but so far so good. Just trying to mask up the paint. But this is all quite intrusive work, isn't it? So you know, the car might get scratched, but it's a track car, so who cares? I mean, doing this on a mint car, if this wasn't if this was a mint concourse GT3 996 and like you wanted to do this carbon fibre roof upgrade, I think I'd get someone that knew what they were doing to do the whole lot. But it would cost you a lot of money, I think. Who'd want to do this job? How much would a workshop place, you know, that does all this sort of performance mods and all stuff, but metal work, they'd want a lot of money to do this. It's a pain in the arse to strip the car down, although they do that reasonably quickly. It's a pain to take all the glass out, and it's a pain to cut all these welds off, and it's easy to go wrong. So there's a good chance we'll do a little bit scratchy on the paint when we do this, but that's part of it. This car, really, I just kind of step back a little bit from it it's not like a piece of perfection. It's just like an old sports car, really, that's pretty good mechanically, and I'm going to rag it around a racetrack till it blows up and then get rid of it. Well, hopefully it will never blow up, but if this car goes, that's probably my Porsche exploration done with. I like Porsches. I might do a video on this. I like them, but I feel like I've explored them all. I've driven them all now. And ones I haven't driven them all. Ones I've been in, you know. I like the oldest Porsches, actually. I'm really drawn to older stuff. I think I could get addicted to the air-cooled Porsche stuff. Like, I love the 964s and all that sort of stuff. But I think owning one of those and keeping on top of it or restoring one would just, the cost of buying one and getting one and doing all the work and maintaining them. And the performance, they're a bit, you know, they are very old, so they're more style and kind of, I don't know, they're brilliant. But I think when you step up then into these water-cooled 996s, suddenly these cars, I've talked about this car is actually a really good chassis, you know, quite a powerful car, relatively powerful, not by modern standards, but get them up to 300 brake horsepower and get the weight down. And they're a good chassis, and they really like being driven hard, and they're all analog, which is what I really like. And I like the gear change. I like the way you can mod them. I like the fact everything's mechanical on them, and they're naturally aspirated. I think they're great, affordable sports cars that you can just mess around with in your garage. So it's been brilliant. But I will say, it has been brilliant, but they are problematic. They just are, because they're old and they're Porsches. And it's a lot of money to constantly spend on cars. But, you know, most people aren't going to be doing this, are they? This is fun, though. I'm enjoying it, but it's a lot of work. So it's yin and yang. If I destroy the engine in this, I think, you know, that's the point where I say, yeah, I'm kind of done with 911s. The other thing is they're not quite as fun. They're fun in terms of just blasting them around and the way they stick to the road, but they hunker down so well on the rear end that they're not quite as playful as BMWs. And I like the way the balance on the BMW, and the way you can throttle on and feel the slide with the BMW on under throttle when especially on a circuit, and sort of like, you know, a little bit more controllable, whereas these tend to stick. And if you chuck them in at ridiculous speeds or whatever, you're too hard on the brakes, too late into the corner, they tend to understeer a little bit. You know, when you've made a mistake, this car's set up really well, you know, and it will go in and it feels really good at the front end. But when you push it a little bit too hard, it can understeer, but then sometimes it can oversteer if you lose the back. So it does keep you on your toes, but it's not quite as playful, or sort of, it's hard to describe. Whereas with the BMW, when you're going around a circuit, you're always kind of just aware that you're throttling on and the back's moving a little bit and sliding out and you're letting go of the wheel. And it's the way that BMW chassis is a bit more kind of fun. Whereas a Porsche, it's like, woof, that rear end is like stuck to the tarmac, which a lot of people will like, because it means you can drive them hard. Especially at lower speeds, you can drive them really hard and accelerate really hard through corners at lower speeds. Yeah, very good cars. I get it. And yeah, it's been awesome, this. Yeah. Yes. So there we go. there we go, guys. Careful. I will carry on now in my garage drilling out these spot welds, and other than that, I reckon I'll have this roof off like when that bloody seam separation bar thing comes in that you can hammer on properly, not my dodgy chisel. I reckon I'll have this roof off tomorrow. Famous last words. Whenever you say that, something will go wrong. But I reckon I'll have it off. And then the fun and game starts. Then we get Dan on board and we'll get this carbon fibre installed. We have to be very careful when we're putting the carbon fibre in. But yeah, I'll bring you in on the next video when we're doing that. So you get the idea. I don't think I'll film. You get the idea of what I'm doing with the spot welds. I don't think I'll film drilling them all out because what's the point? I'll film some of banging the seams out because some of you guys might be interested in that. And this will also be useful, I think, for anyone going ahead and doing this project. And there may be a few people that do it as a result of the videos, really. Dan's done this. You know, he's the first one I know to do this. He's brave to do it himself. I wouldn't have attempted it other than the fact that I kind of saw his roof being whacked off and kind of helped, drill some of the bits out and bang some bits. So I sort of saw it all. But it's quite a scary project, this. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments, do you do this sort of stuff at home? Some of you will have done. Some of you do much more than this. Strip engines down and do everything. Some guys paint them in the garage, and like some people just do everything, and then some people, no, I'm not touching this because you might not have a garage or you might not have done it. But it's good fun. It's really good fun. I think one of the best things you can do in life, I think, is have a garage. Very lucky. I am lucky to have this. And have a nice car that you like, that you can work on in your garage. And that is a really cool thing with automotive stuff. And I don't think you get that with certain cars. You're not going to get it with brand new cars because they're too valuable and too perfect to start doing this for most people. I'm sure there's some people that do it. You're not going to do it perhaps with the really old cars. Again, they're really valuable, but you sort of tend to do it with the lower value cars, that sort of you're less precious about. And I think those lower value cars that you get and you mess around with the most are the ones that you remember the most, I think. I mean, I'll remember this car for the rest of my life. I'll always remember doing this, and I'll always remember all the bits we've done to it. So yeah, really cool. Enjoying it. Thanks for watching. Bye now.